Hello, this is Angela with Parkrose Permaculture. We are hiking today out in Malala. You see a mushroom, Ruth?
Oh, some baby turkey tails.
Oh, cool. So we're out here hiking. It's a really nice spring day. It's in the 50s. It's not raining, which is kind of weird for Oregon in the spring. And we're just enjoying a nice hike together as a family. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk a little bit more about unschooling and what that's like for us. I've gotten a lot of requests to talk more about it. So my kids are 20 and 18 and 14 and 11. And I try not to have the boys on camera very much because they're minors. The adult kids, they don't mind. If they want to talk on camera, they can talk, right? So we've been unschooling since the get-go. We've tried various co-ops and programs, and B does classes at it's kind of like a co-op, right? At Village Home. So part of unschooling is that the kids can decide to opt in or out of whatever kind of classes they want to do. B does mock trial, and she's done journalism and classes on the Supreme Court and case law history and stuff like that. And so it's what the kids are interested in. We want to follow their interests kind of down the rabbit hole and let them have those opportunities to explore what is really meaningful for them. And that's an educational style that has worked for me, even though I went to public school. Like, that's how I learned best. And it's something that I think has worked pretty well for my kids. And I mean, you think it's, Ruth is taking more. Sorry, Ruth.
Huh? It's okay.
You feel like being an unschooler has prepared you well for college? You feel like you're doing okay in college?
Yeah, I actually wrote a whole essay last term about how being an unschooler helped me in college.
Mm-hmm. And you've got a 4.0, right? And you're in the honor society, not going to brag.
Yeah.
So doing okay? Folks,
gotten A's in all my classes.
folks ask, like, are your kids prepared for life in the real world or for college life?
If I say it a lot more condescendingly.
What was that, B?
I said they would say it a lot more condescendingly than that. They'd be like, "Are you sure your kids are ready for life in the real world?"
Yeah, that is kind of how they say it. That is kind of how they say it. So, but obviously, like, my kids are doing fine. So I know unschooling is not for everybody, but y'all have asked, like, what does it look like when you're unschooling? Like, can you give a little bit more of a kind of day in the life? And that's really hard because it looks really different every day and at different seasons of the year because my kids are involved in so many different activities. And I would say right now, since COVID started, really, we've focused a lot on hiking as a family. It was something that didn't work very well when my kids were younger. If any of you have tried to go hiking with small children, it's exhausting for everybody. They don't have the stamina. There's a lot of flopping around in the path and being having that passive resistance of I don't want to go anymore. And we want hiking to be enjoyable. We want to experience nature. And I find as the kids have gotten older, tween and, teen age, hiking is really fun. We enjoy being in the outdoors together. We enjoy going to the river together. We enjoy spending time in nature together. So that's something that we do as a family, because a lot of our unschooling, the kids are each exploring their own individual interests. And we aren't necessarily doing everything together. We don't do school at the dining room table or those kind of formal homeschool styles where everybody's together all day. We're all exploring what is meaningful to us. So we want to make sure that we have time to come back together and do things as a family to build those familial relationships. And hiking is a great example of that. So sometimes I pick where we go. Sometimes the kids get to pick. Hal, my 14-year-old, is really into counting bridges. So he always wants to pick a hike that has lots of bridges so he can check off his list of bridges. B really likes waterfalls. So we try and pick places with waterfalls if we can. Ruth really likes, what do you like best, Ruth?
Mushrooms.
Mushroom hunting. So,
Puddles.
And what?
Puddles.
Puddles. So you like puddles and mushroom hunting. So we try and pick good spots to go mushroom hunting. And, George basically wants to go anywhere that there's water. He loves any kind of river or waterfall or pond. So we want to meet those needs and explore those areas around us. It also is a great opportunity to connect with the state that we live in, right? The region that we live in, the Pacific Northwest, has so much to offer. We're kind of notorious for being outdoorsy people here. And I think that's because we have such a rich, abundant, forest setting. We have beaches not that far away. We have the mountains. We have gazillions of waterfalls. And so why not take advantage of the place where we are living and where we're raising our kids? Why not take fullest advantage of those kinds of places? And I think when we were younger, we were a lot poorer and we were a lot busier. And You know, I'm going to go around this mud puddle here. Raising small kids is hard. It's exhausting work. It's something that, you know, there's this idyllic notion of what it should be like raising 3 or 4 or 5 or however many small kids. And trips are no fun. They were no fun for us. It's a lot of work for mom. It's a lot of stress for kids, a lot of big emotions, a lot of exhaustion, a lot of folks reaching their limit on things. And so we just pressed pause on all of that. And we're finding that now that we're older, everybody in the family enjoys outings a lot more. They're less stressful. They're a lot more peaceful. They're a lot more enjoyable. Everyone can kind of get their own things together, pack their own lunch, decide for themselves what they're going to wear, get their own water bottle. And it's just a much more pleasant experience. I talk on my regular permaculture videos about wanting to set ourselves up for success. And I think for us enjoying the outdoors, part of setting ourselves up for success was pressing pause until the kids were a little bit older, having kind of limited short excursions when they were young, and those bigger hikes and those bigger trips to the mountains and those bigger trips to the beach now that they're older. In this part of the forest, I noticed there are a lot of vine maples, which are a good indicator for a lot of edible mushrooms, but there's also a lot of other edible plants themselves. There's mahonia here, Oregon grape, there's salal. Even though typically we think of an area that is heavily shaded in the understory as not providing a tremendous amount of food production, there still are edible things growing here, native edible things. You can always tell a vine maple because it has this very kind of green quality to the trunk, and it tends to be kind of floppy and wispy looking, kind of bends and arches. So even when it's not leafed out yet, it's really obvious what trees in the landscape are vine maples. Very thin, bendy, and a green trunk. Here you can see a really young vine maple. Again, always easy to identify them because they have a greenish cast to the whole trunk. Hello, Boof.
Hello.
Why do you think it is that we are always the ones in the back on the hike?
Because I have no stamina left and I'm looking for shrimps.
You have no stamina left because of COVID?
Yeah.
Because your lungs bother you since COVID?
My lungs don't work.
Yeah, and also you're looking for shrimps. It's a little early, but we've seen some mushrooms, right?
Yeah, we've seen witch's butter and reishi mushrooms. Yeah. And a couple little brown ones. I don't know what they're.
This might be a nice place to come back later in the season, a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, maybe in a couple of weeks, like a month.
Yeah. And my family has broken into 2 groups. My 14-year-old and my husband at the front with our little niece dog Martha, and they are talking about video games. And the group in the back is Ruth and Bee and my youngest George, and they are also talking about video games. And I just think it's really funny that we are out hiking in nature and enjoying the beautiful outdoors, and they're just having such deep, in-depth conversations with each other. I think one of the really cool things about being an unschooler is that, you know, you're making use of the world around you, but you're also making use of those opportunities for connection. And so, you know, sometimes it's hard for a 20-year-old and an 11-year-old to connect, especially in the context of the house. If somebody's working on their, school stuff, Ruth's in college full-time, and there's a lot more disconnect, even though we're all cramped in close together in a small house. And yet we get out here in the huge expanse of nature, and they find that that is the time for these like intimate, in-depth, detailed conversations about the things that they're interested in. it's hard to get sometimes. I don't know if any of you have 11-year-olds. 11 is a difficult age. It's hard to get that kind of tween, pre-adolescent to connect with his adult siblings and have real conversations about the things that he is passionate about right now. And yet we get out here in the outdoors and they have just been talking and talking, mostly George just talking and talking and talking to his sisters about the things he's really into and them asking questions of him. And I just think it's really special. I know there are families who come out in nature and hike and you need to be quiet and observe wildlife. And we do a lot of that, but it's also a chance to have family time. It's also a chance for the kids to develop relationships with each other where they just get time with their siblings and their parents. And I think that that's one of the reasons that we are a hiking family, if we can call ourselves that, a family that really enjoys hiking, because we have really good, meaningful conversations. We get to share our interests with each other, not just our interests about the outdoors, but all aspects of our life. Something about hiking in the woods facilitates those conversations, and I really enjoy that about it. What do you think lives in there?
Really big hornets. Like just really big hornets.
Yeah, probably something fuzzy, Harold.
I'm trigger rewild. They want to get.
Not quite right for foxes.
Bunnies?
Not right for rats. No, bunnies wouldn't be on a steep hillside like that. I don't know.
Weasels?
What lives in there?
Don't live here.
Hey Ruth. What's your favorite thing about hiking in the woods?
The aesthetic.
What do you mean?
I just like the setting. I like the natural lighting and seeing all the plants and taking pictures of everything. I also like looking for stuff like mushrooms and flowers and bugs.
That's one of the things I like about it too, is it feels like a treasure hunt a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never know what you're going to stumble across. You have hopes, but then what you actually end up seeing may be super different. How do you feel about hiking with your family in particular?
I think it's really fun. I like to have chats with my siblings if they're not whining about the hike itself. We sometimes play like
Got a bit tired.
that clothespin game where you try to stick a clothespin on people without them noticing.
Yeah. What do you guys like best about hiking as a family?
Well, normally I would like listening to Taylor Swift, but that's not happening today, so.
There's no reception.
Hey B, what's your favorite part of hiking?
I don't know. What's the favorite part of anything? During quarantine, Taylor Swift moved to a lake cabin. She wrote a song called The Lakes about it. It was beautiful. It was actually really
She's so spoiled.
What do you like about hiking with a 9-pound dog? Is it her stamina and how far she can go?
I think she got tired.
You tuckered out, Martha? Is it nap time?
I mean, to be fair, her legs are the size of my fingers, so.
That's true. Okay, thanks for watching today. We are back at the car and all really exhausted, and we're going to head home. I hope that you learned a little bit about what unschooling looks like for our family or some of our thoughts. There's a very tired doggy here. Thank you, dear. If you have thoughts or questions about unschooling, I hope you can drop them in the comments. I may be slow to answer because I'm having surgery tomorrow, so any answering will probably be delayed several days, but I will definitely read all of the comments and try to get to your questions. Please don't forget to click like and subscribe and check out the other ways that you can support this channel down below. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.